everyone, this is Mark Young, and welcome to the Friday roundup of Blunt Force Truth Minutes with Chuck Woolery. This is the perfect 5 minutes of sarcasm to end your week. Every day, Chuck delivers 60 seconds of wit and wisdom across the country, heard on over 60 radio stations. But you don't have to tune into the radio because you're getting all 5 of this week delivered right to your mobile device. Here we go. Number 1.
As in the Boston bombing, the recent explosions in New York took place with homemade bombs built of pressure cookers. The use of pressure cookers as a weapon is making the left crazy. Okay, crazier. Because it shows how stupid their gun control demands are. As example, New York Mayor Bill de Blasio was quoted at a press conference saying, "We think these bombs may have been set intentionally." Really? As opposed to the accidental bombs that someone just happened to drop out of their purse? MSNBC talking head and gold medalist and the idiot Olympics said on the air, "We're so very lucky the bomber didn't use a gun." This is the same guy who said fallen soldiers are not heroes and that we should not measure workers by their results, which clearly MSNBC agrees with based on its ratings. Just shows how the left will never let the truth get in the way of their agenda. I'm Chuck Woolery.
Number 2.
Well, it seems like America is having a meltdown, one last hurrah after a summer full of violence and uncertainty. One of the most noteworthy shootings involved a black police officer shooting a black man who reportedly had a gun. Now, the family said it wasn't possible, so the city erupted into protests. Apparently, we can't say riots anymore. The day after the shooting, the liberal media was very careful not to use the word riot. They did slip up and say looting at one point. Days later, they were saying violent protests in every news story. But if the people are fighting and burning things everywhere, that's the definition of a riot in my book. I support peaceful protests. It's our First Amendment right. Martin Luther King was a protester, but he wasn't looting or shooting people. He peacefully accomplished his goals. So if the so-called protesters did that now, the media wouldn't know what to do with themselves, would they? I'm Chuck Woolery.
Number 3.
President Obama is constantly claiming the U.S. is the deadliest country in the world. He says that mass shootings are so common now that they happen every week. This is all to do with the fact that we don't ban gun ownership like the much more civilized France. There's just one tiny problem with the president's claim. It's a bald-faced lie. The fact is that France had more people die in mass shootings last year than we've had during Obama's entire first 7 years. This does not even take into account that we have 5 times the population of France. This makes a person 7 times more likely to die in a mass shooting in a country that bans gun ownership. Now, how can this be? Because legally armed citizens in the U.S. often end the mass shooting before police can even get to the scene. I'm Chuck Woolery.
Number 4.
The Korean Peninsula has always been a tense region. The past year or so has seen escalations in tensions with the North and the South both poking the other side pretty relentlessly. The North can't seem to get enough of nuclear testing. They want everyone to know they can blow stuff up. America and the South Koreans decided to send the same message by holding naval exercises dangerously close to the eastern coast of North Korea. Now, these were some big, powerful ships. The goal? To show that we stand together against the North. The North responded with more threats of their own, saying they were going to turn Seoul into a sea of fire. The South went further than I've seen them go. They announced a plan to assassinate Kim Jong-un if a nuclear threat is imminent. Hopefully that threat won't be one that finally pushes the unhinged dictator over the edge. One can hope. I'm Chuck Woolery.
And number 5.
Well, the election's getting closer. It's barely a month away, and it'll be here before we know it. Every day the news is reporting on how close it is and how the undecided voter is in several key states could swing victory one way or the other. And they're right. It's going to be close. America is going to have to decide between freedom and the New World Order. Now, what is the New World Order? It is Hillary. It is more of the same. America spiraling into a sea of bigger government and regulation and God knows what else. It's Marxism and the end of the free world as we know it. I know that sounds like hyperbole, but it's not. You know, the thing about freedom is there are generations full of voters who don't even know what the word really means and what it really means to be free. You know the scary thing? They won't know what they'll be losing by voting for Hillary in November. I'm Chuck Woolery.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Blunt Force Truth Minutes. As always, please subscribe at iTunes or Stitcher if you've not done that yet. And please, leave us a review. It really helps us spread the word. Visit us at bluntforcetruth.com or contact us directly on Twitter at Chuck Woolery or at Mark Young Truth. Or use the hashtag BluntForceTruth. Listen next week for another full episode of Blunt Force Truth. Have a great weekend.